Well, welcome to SanDisk. We're very excited to have you here as part of Storage Field Day number 5. And I understand this is a multi-day event, but glad you started it off here. We have you fresh and get to hear about new things that SanDisk is bringing out. Some of our interesting new technology that we look at is to help transform the data center. So I'm Brian Cox, and I lead the outbound marketing here for the enterprise business for SanDisk, and I'll be giving a quick overview of the different facets of SanDisk. You heard a little bit from Siobhan out in the lobby as we went through the spectrum. I'll give a quick recap of that. Then be handing it over to my colleague, Paige Tagazad, who is the product manager for our UltraDIMM product. So this is the Flash on DIMM product that is the focus of today's discussion. And Paige will be followed then by Randy Cohen, who's a Senior Director of Engineering that works in the development and bringing to market a number of our SSD technologies, including UltraDIMM. We have also Hemant, who's from our performance engineering team, who's going to help with any the Q&A in addition to the rest of us. And did want to thank Victoria Kopnick for bringing this all together. And with that, I think we'll go ahead and get started. So first thing I have to do for your own protection is anything that I may say, or Paige, or Randy, or Hemant, don't make your retirement savings investment decisions based on what we say, but you're at your own risk. In any case, SanDisk has had a very good experience in regards to selling solutions in the storage business. Whether you see it as consumers with stuff you're using every day, I see a number of products here in the room that have SanDisk inside, whether you know it or not. So basically every tablet, smartphone, the Ultrabooks, any of that kind of product, design wins across the industry have SanDisk there. And of course, people know us from just the retail products, thumb drives, memory cards for cameras, 260,000 outlets around the world. So all those businesses continue to grow. However, the newest part of SanDisk, which is bringing the benefits of flash, it's fast, it's small, it doesn't draw much power, doesn't generate much heat, are also ideal attributes for data center equipment. So just about 2.5 years ago, SanDisk got into this business by acquiring a few companies, starting with a company called Pliant, which did enterprise SSDs. SAS Connected brought that in and brought with it some existing customers. HP and Dell are a couple of those. Brought in some software companies, FlashSoft, who you heard about. For those who may have been here at the last Storage Field Day with SanDisk, we talked about the FlashSoft product, which provides server-side caching to accelerate the applications. Then we bought a company called Schooner Technology, which uses flash to help accelerate databases. And then most recently, this last summer, Smart Storage Systems, which brought a number of other products that fit within the SSD hardware line, including the UltraDIMM, which you're going to hear about today. So SanDisk had very long-standing knowledge about flash technology, had exploited that in regards to some very well-appreciated products in the retail and consumer space, but knew they didn't have the expertise necessarily about what the data center buyers were looking for. So that's why they started acquiring companies. And there were others of us that came in subsequent. I personally came from EMC, before that NetApp, before that HP, and just bringing that experience about what are the kind of needs that customers are looking at in regards to what's important about enterprise storage. And the enterprise business is now the fastest growing part of SanDisk, and we're only a couple years old. So it just talks about how we've seen the sweeping transition of storage going to flash in consumer devices. We're seeing a rapid transition of flash now being used in regards to enterprise gear, servers, and storage. So today we're at in 6 of the top 7 server and storage vendors. We're also in a number of the all-flash array vendors, as well as the hybrid storage vendors, a number of regional vendors as well. Even we just got calls from some supplier of ATM machines in Japan that wants our high-duty cycle drives to be outfitted to that. So we're looking at really powerful SSDs. So it's different than what you may have in your laptop, which you buy. It may vary by capacity, but it's really sort of one size fits all from a workload standpoint. Because most people are doing Excel or Word or PowerPoint or something of that genre. But when you get into servers, you're dealing with a scale that's very different, right? You have thousands or maybe millions of people using a particular application. So we actually tailor these in different configurations about how we provision the flash on the drives that may be very write intensive, like database logging, or it could be read intensive. Imagine you're a Netflix or a Flickr, you write to the flash once, but then you read it many times. So we actually have different configurations that we tailor, and also why we have a spectrum of products. So that's very well appreciated by these different vendors, because what a server vendor may want can be very different from a storage vendor. So what helps us in being able to produce these and stay very competitive in the marketplace is the full integration that we have. It's not just that we have our own chip fab producing what's called the NAND flash chips. We do this in a joint venture with Toshiba, and between the two of us, we ship nearly half of all the flash bits in the world. But we extend the integration much further than just the hardware. We carry that out into the controller, the CPU that goes inside the flash device that helps control the inflow and outflow of the data. We either partner with those in the industry, or we develop our own controllers. We then add firmware that helps with the longevity of the drive. How do we efficiently manage the amount of information written to the drive to last the same period of warranty that the gear that it goes into? So if you have a server in your data center that's got to be there 5 years, so should your SSD, right? And if you used a client drive in one of these, it would burn out. So we have to do things differently with the enterprise products from SanDisk. We then extend this further with some additional software. We talked about FlashSoft. So an SSD by nature is a very fast device, only if you put the data there though, right? So what we use, FlashSoft, is intelligently track what's the most frequently used data, put a cached copy on that SSD inside the server. So instead of taking the long trip out to the SAN, you just go right to the flash device where the copy of the data is, return that data very quickly, and your applications run faster, noticeably faster. So it's those kind of additional software offerings that SanDisk has to maximize the full value of the flash. And then we're working with others in the software ecosystem. We have a close partnership with VMware as an example. So we certified our drives with vSAN. And if you know vSAN, it requires SSDs to be part of the configuration in order to work. It's doing the same kind of caching in order to accelerate the performance to compensate for the slow hard drives. So if you're going to do this pooling, you got to make sure the performance is going to keep up. vSAN certified SanDisk SSDs to do that. We're one of the few that has. So if somebody asks VMware, whose hardware should we use, they're going to say, use somebody's gear that has SanDisk inside. So that's it's a very comprehensive integration, not just the chip fab, but all the way out through the ISV software ecosystem. So we do quite a bit of invention here. If you look at, you see the number of patents, but that's just a quantity. IEEE has gone and assessed the power of the patent portfolio of different companies. And SanDisk is in the top 5. So I mean, you think about those who you would obviously think to be there, the Googles, the Apples, maybe the GEs. SanDisk is in the top 5. So it's a very complex set of engineering to be able to do these flash devices. In fact, many consider it's more complex than logic devices like CPUs. So we spend a tremendous amount, double-digit percentage of our annual revenue just in R&D. And you'll see some of that in our tour later in the day. So I'm going to give I'll be wrapping up here, give an overview of the portfolio, and then I'm going to hand it over to Paige. But just to give you a perspective of what we have, we have the full breadth of offering, everything from SATA-connected drives, so obviously these are in the same form factor as a hard drive, so it's a one-for-one swap. Very popular with the Web 2.0 social media companies. They want a lesser expensive drive, but still has obviously better performance than a hard drive. We just completely refreshed that line this last month, and this is known as our Cloud Speed line.
And I was so hoping there would be one in the goodie bag.
Well, we'll see some way we can eventually make that a reality, Howard. So in fact, Howard and I just spoke about the Cloud Speed last month.
We did.
So that anchors the line. This is a very popular product. particularly with, as I said, with what's called the social media or the hyperscale companies. But you get into the traditional data centers, they're looking for something that has more reliability at the device level, so they use a SAS connected drive. They also want something that's very higher performance because it tends to run things like databases. So we have a broad line here as well, coming from the heritage of both the Pliant acquisition, which is the Lightning drive, as well as the Optimus product line, which came from the Smart Storage heritage. So watch the news in the coming days. There'll be some things relative being announced on these products as well. We can't disclose it today, but if you'd like to get a briefing on those, what's coming out in our SATA line, just let Siobhan know in the back of the room, and we can do that. Then the other product that we most recently introduced beyond those two is the UltraDIMM. And you may have heard back in January, IBM rolled out a new line of servers in their System X, and they have a flash offering brand called the X Flash or EX Flash. Well, they have an EX Flash DIMM, which is the UltraDIMM. They are buying that from SanDisk and rebadging it with their Flash brand, but that has SanDisk inside even with those new System X servers. We also have a PCIe card as well. So this makes up the broadest product line from any SSD vendor, from SAS all the way through Flash on DIMM. We have the software as well and the partnerships with the ISV ecosystem. So once again, I think it's paying off. This is the fastest growing part of SanDisk.
This is the good part.
Cool. Okay. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to my coworker, Paige Hagazad, who's the UltraDIMM product manager, give an overview of UltraDIMM, and followed by Randy Cohen, who will give an even deeper dive.